Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show has been supported from day one by Illustration X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com. Welcome back to the show. This is The Creative Condition. I am Ben Talon, your host. This is another instalment of the Creativity Diary, the bit of The Creative Condition in which I dump some very unrefined, reflective, introspective thoughts. And I hope it's of some value to you guys as I continue to explore creativity, what it means, what it looks like, what it could be, and the whimsical, wild bits around it. How are you doing, guys? Welcome to the show. Big thank you as ever to the founding sponsor, Illustration X. They've been with me since day one. They're a brilliant illustration and animation agency representing artists from all over the globe. You can check them out now at illustrationx.com. They do a lot of great work for the industry, including working with the likes of the Society of Artists Agents, the Association of Illustrators. Tripping over myself there. But they've been great. It was their idea to help me get the show off the ground in the first place 10 years ago. If you're a long-time listener, you'll know that well by now, when I used to be at Arrest All the Mix, now The Creative Condition. If you're interested in working with me directly and putting this knowledge of mine to good use, I also work as a creativity coach, and I would love to do my pit stop session with you. The pit stop is an intensive process. It takes between 3 and 4 hours. We sit down, we work through all of your frustrations, your hopes, your dreams, your fears. We look for the opportunities, the blocks, the blind spots. As we work through my Anatomy of Creativity framework, we cover everything from environment to psychology, to learned behaviours, to humour, to mischief, to hormones. We go through all of it. We look at your skill set. We look at where we need to point you to get you re-energised, feeling the magic and on the right path for you. I've worked with musicians, photographers, designers, artists, people from climate science. It goes broad. Creativity is fundamental to all of us. I can help you elevate yours. Get in touch. thecreativecondition.com/coach. Fill out the form. We'll have a no obligation Zoom chat. We'll see if it's right for you. And then we can kick off. With some people, I've gone on to work on longer term programs with them too, which is beautiful. 6 and 12 month programs where we set definitive goals to get them to a certain point, whether that's the essence of a personal brand, a portfolio, just as a support coach. You know, sometimes people just need deadlines and accountability. So there's that too. Anyway, we can discuss it. It's pliable. I love it. Let's get into the diary. We'll get guest episodes coming up soon. I've got 4 in the bag now, and they're all absolute stormers. Anthony Burrell, legendary graphic designer. Charlotte Bradman, lives in a van full time. Author of The Happy Nomad. Brilliant creative. Wonderful person. Hell of a story. Alison Heilichser, working as a therapist, relationship counsellor in Singapore, talking about human needs. It's a beautiful one, coming up as part of the mental health series. I hope you've been enjoying that. You can now check out the episode on anxiety and also burnout. But without further ado, let's get into it. The Creativity Diary, the latest instalments. 14th of August 2025. Burn any bridge. There's a slide in the Creative Condition talk that says, like-minded people, ? The question mark because I wanted to highlight the limitations of spending time only with those we feel comfortable with or who remind us of ourselves. One friend I've recently made makes some people uncomfortable with his unbridled honesty. We're talking in the street with one other fella who says, I always say it's a small world, so don't burn any bridges. You never know when you might need something or encounter them again. And to a degree, I get his point. I think about it and consider putting forth a more nuanced interpretation of what he said, but my friend is in there like a shot. I gotta disagree with you there, mate. I will burn any bridge if it calls me a cunt. I splutter and wail and love how polar he's gone. This is what I mean. You need range if you want to understand the world and stimulate better ideas. Like-minded people are lovely, but they only go so far. 20th of August 2025. Learning opportunity. It's the first experience of the parenting and working juggling act during school summer holidays for my wife and I. We've managed, just about. My daughter reminds me in some ways of my younger self, particularly her tendency to lose focus when she's not impassioned by the topic I'm trying to engage her with. So far, it seems, that this is not so at school, where her teachers illuminate us with reports of ultra-focus. Kids in their comfort zone are a different animal. One morning she's astounded by the ease with which I named the nation depicted in a graphic of around 24 nations in my son's Lego instruction booklet. She asks why her mum does not know most of them, and I do. I explain to her that this is owing to my obsession with football sticker albums during various football World Cups. Knowledge via passion. One afternoon, I transfer parent duty to my wife after a morning with the kids, and my daughter is quick to transfer her allegiance and affection. Flick Daddy back to the studio. I cackle at the verb flick in this context and maul her to the ground, tickling her until she taps out and ruffling her hair. In retaliation, this progresses to flick Daddy to Turkey. She has a classmate whose father is Turkish. The next morning, I intercept her on the landing to give my wife a well-earned bit of extra sleep, and she is not happy about this. Denying my prompts to read a book or play with some toys, she sits on the sofa, scowling at me while I stir the porridge and prepare bowls. Turkey. Now just distilled down to one word. Her indignation is palpable. Australia. She notches it up. Antarctica. I return fire, flicking my fingers at her, narrow-eyed. This continues, picking up steam when my son arrives, opening with South Pole. By the time we're on to planets, I've made a mental note to acquire a second-hand globe or world map. Humour is the conduit here, and if we can keep this tongue-in-cheek expulsion wish list game going, her global geography will be significantly elevated far more than it could have been with a simple sit down and look at this brief ahead of the return to year one. That's all teachers want, the good ones, anyway. The time to understand individual needs and tend to them. 21st of August 2025. Gallows humour. I got talking with a friend about humour and creativity. A very specific type of humour. Gallows humour. Merriam-Webster defines the term as humour that makes fun of life-threatening, disastrous or terrifying situation. A firefighter friend told me how essential this is for mental well-being in horrific situations in his professional life on a podcast. In my first short fiction story, All Things Nice, it entered my creativity as I wove a narrative to deal with the turmoil I felt over my fears of a friend being made homeless. I suppose that's the point. This world is upside down and still trying, desperately, to work itself out. We, as self-aware creatures, are tuned into a social, collective psychology, and there's paranoia out there, rage, fear, and a longing for something better. Creativity can serve all of this, but the paradox is that creativity doesn't come easily when that turmoil is constant. That's why our industry is in flux too. Writing is healthy. I'd recommend writing to anyone. For yourself, to vent, to let it all out. I recommend it to most coaching clients. It might surprise you how useful it is to understanding or releasing what's going on in there. P.J. Richardson told me that he makes art that aspires to near utopian, unashamed levels of happiness, even if, like most of the time, he isn't feeling it. I found that quite profound. Without glorifying the struggling artist stereotype, which we should not so easily accept as a given, a lot of this is indeed about aspiration. Aspirational work through acts of emotional creativity can play a part in getting us, if not to Arcadia, to somewhere better. 22nd of August 2025. Comfort. It's the golden hour. At least that's what my photographer friend used to call it. The sun going down, perfect light when beauty is easier to come by. A group of 8 blokes play cricket on the park at the bottom of my street, and you only have to watch them for 30 seconds or so to see that it matters. The shouts, the ferocity of the balls, the celebrations and commiserations. I stroll around the edge with the dog and give them all my attention. I'm running on low battery after a taxing day working at the bottom of the garden. A podcast interview, a coaching session, an illustration deadline, and admin things squeezed in between. There's mid-level stress at play in my gut, so I sit while I let the dog sniff around in the long, dried-out grass at the top. It feels good watching the game. I don't root for anyone, I don't know the score, and I don't want to join in either. I never really gave cricket much of a go, so the pull just isn't there. What I adore is the community, the tribe, the boys, doing their thing, coming together through shared passion. I'm still working at finding more of that. We all need a little more of that. Leading with creativity necessitates connection. Those Zoom calls, the podcast and the coaching session were invigorating on an inspiration level. But screens are a bit like those prison visits you see on TV dramas, aren't they? A few days later I get my act together and meet Lewis, a friend and local designer. We sit on a bench by the cathedral and I talk about many things. Him with his son, me with the dog. Half an hour or so. Then we walk back through town and carry on. I'm glad I did. Lewis and I started Friday drinks here in Salisbury for this reason. Too many shed and spare room dwellers going out of their minds, alone in a cutthroat market, with more to offer. I see more of it happening in all those fringe towns and villages. There you have it, guys, the latest instalment of the Creativity Diary. I hope you enjoyed. You can read along, of course, at thecreativecondition.com/the diary. If you want to go back through the archive, check it out. All the audio episodes are here on this podcast channel. If you get a chance and you like the show, please tell a friend. It's the greatest form of marketing for podcasts. Recommendations. Curation, that's what it's all about, isn't it? In this world where we've got access to everything all the time, it's all about curation, recommendation and taste, something you can't teach. Leave us a little review or a rating if you get a chance. It really helps on your preferred listening platform. Massive thank you as ever to Illustration X for supporting the show since the beginning 10 years ago. Check them out with their global range of illustration and animation portfolios now at illustrationx.com. And please consider supporting the wonderful Ukrainian Institute who support the Ukrainian creative community through this terrible time of war. You can do so at ui.org.ua, even if it's just sharing in a post some of their awesome artists. If you're in a position to commission or support, even better. So that's it. Cheers, guys. Kicking up some new guest episodes soon. Like I said at the top of the show, 4 in the bag. They're all crackers. Excited to bring them to you. Have a great week. Take care.